Hello everyone and welcome to the Gooner Factory. So I've seen a lot of talk online the past couple of weeks of fans demanding that we drop Gabriel Jesus. And I don't really know what to make of it because Jesus is our best striker in my opinion, but he might not be our best goal scorer. I think we have another 4 options that could work as striker, and I do agree that maybe Mikel Arteta should try some of these options out more often. But I would like to know your guys' opinions as well on this, so let me know who should we start our next game as striker. So I guess first of all, do I believe that Gabriel Jesus should be dropped? And if I'm being honest, I can definitely see the argument of why people want him dropped. You know, he's a great player, we can't deny that, but in terms of goals, the numbers are lacking from Gabriel Jesus, and it's a shame because he is so good. When he's on top form, there isn't a player that comes close for Arsenal in terms of being able to play that central role. He's so good at linking up the play, holding up the ball, and he's not a particularly big guy, but he's so good at holding up the ball, so good at getting his body in the way. And what I like about Gabriel Jesus, and I know a lot of people appreciate him for having this trait as well, it's just his desire, his hunger to want to play football, the fact that he gets himself in the way, the fact he gets to the ball first, and you can really see that Gabriel Jesus is a player who loves playing football. But the goal number isn't good enough. Anyone can acknowledge that. We need a striker who's more able to put the ball in the back of the net. Gabriel Jesus misses a lot of chances. He does get himself in a lot of chances, to be fair, but he keeps missing those chances. And when you see a player missing chances, you are inevitably going to start to think we need a striker who can put the ball into the back of the net. So I've got some other options here that Mikel Arteta could definitely play as striker, and I think it would be beneficial for Arsenal to do this because I think there's a lot more goals to be unlocked in this Arsenal team. And if we just play some of these players in that position, I definitely think Arteta would have more success in a lot more of these games. Okay, so first of all, you know, nketiah, that's the natural second option that you have to look at. And you can understand why nketiah is still at Arsenal, because we don't have many options in that striking position. And nketiah, you know, young player, come through the academy. But if we're being honest, nketiah probably isn't the answer to Arsenal's goal scoring problems. He's a good enough player to come off the bench, and I've always rated Eddie as a great bench option for Arsenal. I've never seen him good enough to be able to start games in the Premier League, the Champions League, but as maybe a cup player in the early rounds of the EFL Cup, I think Eddie Nketiah is a decent enough option. We've seen when he does come on and he gets minutes, he is able to work a goal for himself. So I think Eddie Nketiah is good in that respect. But I think if you're pushing on and really going on and looking to be a team that's going to be fighting in the Premier League title race and the Champions League, you do inevitably need a better second striking option than Eddie Nketiah. And that's where I think Havertz can come in, because we've seen Havertz playing for Arsenal, and at the minute it seems to not be working out. And in my opinion, that's because Mikel Arteta keeps deploying him as a number 8 central midfielder, and that is not where Havertz's best position could be. If you're looking at Havertz as a player, and I'm asking you, what is Havertz? I mean, the first thing I think of is, you know, he's a fairly technical player, very good at popping up and scoring a goal. So I wouldn't naturally see that as a central midfield player. I see Havertz as a striker. Now, I don't see him as a first team option striker starting every game. I see Havertz as I see Eddie Nketiah, a brilliant bench option. You can't tell me Havertz isn't a good enough option to bring off the bench in the 60th, 70th minute when you're chasing a goal. And I think that's where Havertz should be deployed. I think we need to sell Eddie Nketiah. Great servant for the club, wish him well, everything like that. But I think Havertz should be that second striking option, because I do think Havertz is good enough to be a striking option for Arsenal. You know, he's kind of made a career of being a guy who pops up in big moments. We know this is a player who can score big goals in big moments. So I don't get why we wouldn't use him as that second striking option. I know we've paid a lot of money for him, so maybe Arteta's thinking, you know, we paid 65 million for this player, he needs to be able to be integrated into the first team straight away. But I think that's the wrong approach to take, because I think that's weakening our midfield, and it's also giving us less striking options. Because in terms of midfield, you know, Declan Rice, Thomas Partey and Odegaard will always be a stronger midfield of, say, Rice, Havertz and Odegaard, for example. So yes, Havertz probably is a lot of money, and maybe we did overspend on the player, but if we're going to get the best out of Havertz, I definitely think it should be as that second striking option. But like I said, let me know your opinions in the comment section. If you agree with me, if you don't agree with me, that's absolutely fine. And I think after Havertz, Another option we would have is Trossard. We've seen Trossard play as a striker a few times for Arsenal. Maybe not as many times as I would like. You know, at a time where we are struggling to find goals, I think if you're putting Trossard in that position, he's definitely a player that can score goals. I think we've seen it a few times this season. When he does play striker, he does manage to get a goal, but he's only seemed to be given a chance in that position when a Gabriel Jesus is injured, for example, and then he rotates with nketiah. But in that period where he was being used as a striker, we saw that he is actually good enough to play that position. You know, he scored a couple of goals. Now, he's never going to be a good in the air striker or anything like that. But what you're losing in the air, you're gaining in terms of technical ability on the ground, because we've seen the way Trossard can operate in tight spaces. Left foot, right foot, he's got a good shot on him. So maybe this is a player that does deserve more minutes in that central forward position. But the final option I believe Arsenal should be using as that striker is Gabriel Martinelli. Now, I wouldn't only be using this option as a sometimes option. I would play Gabriel Martinelli as Arsenal's main striker. I think this is a £100 million striker waiting to be developed. I think Gabriel Martinelli has all of the attributes needed to be a top striker in the Premier League and the Champions League. You've only got to look at his last game, for example, against Palace. Them two finishes he produced was top level. The ability to open his body out and curl it into the corner, we can see the resemblance of a young Thierry Henry. We've mentioned it on this channel many times, and I think it's about time now that Mikel Arteta gave Gabriel Martinelli the opportunity to show what he can do as a striker. I think you have that South American tenacity to be able to play that position, the hold-up play, the ability to be able to beat a man, the finishing. I think Gabriel Martinelli, with some development, could be the complete package, and I really hope Mikel Arteta gives him a chance to show what he can do as a striker. But like I said, I want to hear everyone's opinions and thoughts on this subject. Who do you believe should be Arsenal's next striker? What player do you believe deserves more time in that number 9 position? Thanks so much to everyone for watching and listening. Before you go though, please just hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll speak to you all in tomorrow's video. Gooners, have a good day.